Hey, what's happening, folks? This is part 2 of episode 13. We got my man Mantis up in here in San Diego representing the American Kenpo Karate studio. What's happening, Mantis? How you doing?
Good. How you guys doing?
We're all right.
Welcome to the show.
Yes,
Thank you.
All right, man. So we got some questions for you. Find out a little bit about your history and what's going on with you in the community there in San Diego. So I know you got a long history there, bro. You were born in San Diego?
Yeah, born and raised.
Right on. Okay, so we're gonna jump right in. How'd you first learn about American Kenpo Karate, which is located at 3030 El Cajon Boulevard?
All right, so check it out. I had just moved to North Park. I was like 12 years old. I was always infatuated with the arts, like Bruce Lee movies, Kung Fu theater, all that. So then I told my mom, I'm like, hey, I want to do that. I want to do karate. I want to do some type of martial arts. She's like, well, find a place. So I was walking around North Park, not knowing where I was going. I stumbled onto a Taekwondo place off of 35th. And I walked in and it looked like they were, having fun, doing like little cartwheels and kicks and stuff like that. I'm like, that's cool. And I'm like, maybe that's the place I need to go. And then I started walking home. Then I stumbled upon Todd's place. And it would happen to be sparring night. Mm-hmm. So I walked in and I seen people just get blasted. Boom, getting knocked to the wall. And I'm like, yeah, that's more my speed. You know what I mean? Especially being from East Dago. So right. It's like, that's where I chose to go. So I told my mom, we went to see Todd, and he said it'll be $25 for the first 5 lessons. That was the deal back then. So that's pretty much how it all got started for me.
Okay, so we talked a lot about why people end up going into dojos and training for things like martial arts. What was the reason why you were, you were talking about the neighborhood that you grew up in. I know what you're talking about with that, being from the same area. What was it for you that was going on in your life that you felt you needed some, and did you recognize martial arts as being a place to go learn discipline as well?
Yeah, well, I always just wanted to defend myself, man. I was a small kid. So I was constantly either in some type of confrontation or someone trying to pick on me or whatever. And I'm like, I kind of just did not want that to happen no more. So I wanted to learn. And plus, if I was going to do something, I was going to go 100% into it. I wasn't going to half-ass it. Even as a kid, I just had that mindset that that's what I was going to do. And I'm going to do it. I didn't realize I was going to take it as far as I did, though.
Did the dojo have a reputation prior to your first visit? So you came in just off the strength of walking home. You already found another spot, but you answered by saying that when you went in, it was more your speed by seeing sparring night. Were these kids? Were they grown men?
They're grown. Yeah, these were grown men, and it was mostly brown belts, black belts, and Chicken was there, Todd was there. A lot of the other black belts who were relevant at that time and still competing were there. So the thing I like about Todd's dojo or, the gym is that they've always invited other disciplines. You could be a Taekwondoist, you could do Tang Soo-do, you can do Kung Fu. We bring them all, you know what I mean? And get a taste of what we have to offer, and if you like it, then come train with us. If it's not, then you at least you came in and tried it out. But a lot of people ended up staying at Todd's because they just liked the environment.
So it's American Kenpo Karate. When you went in, you said that there was different forms going on, from the instructors and their experiences, but that's what it reads on the outside of the building there.
Yeah.
Kenpo Karate. So when you went in, you were pretty much signed up for that, right?
Yeah.
How did Muay Thai come into the picture for you at that dojo?
Muay Thai, so I was actually boxing at the time, and I was doing PKA karate or kickboxing. So PKA basically is kickboxing with kicks above the waist with boxing hands. So you got boxing hands and kicks above the waist. Right. So it's basically karate and boxing mixed, right? But it was kickboxing, American kickboxing. Right. A guy by the name of John, I can't pronounce his last name because it's too crazy, but he stumbled upon our gym a real short dude, about like 5 something, and he was a kickboxer as far as I knew. You know, he just said, yeah, he kickboxed, and I'm like, all right, cool. And I see him in the back room kicking the bag, but he was kicking it real low, kicking it like he was doing leg kicks. And I was like looking at him, and I'm like, why you kicking, you know, so low, you know? And then he's the one who showed me what a leg kick was. And yeah, I fell in love ever since. You know, he was showing me, he was knee in the bag, his elbow in the bag. And I was just like, I thought it was just all, you know, just hands, because I didn't know, I never seen it before. So I started learning from him first. I got a taste up from it from him, and then he ended up going back to where he was from, and then I started, you know, talking and asking questions, and then Chicken, who actually did kickboxing too, but he fought Muay Thai, right? He went to Japan and knocked out their champion in the 7th round, broke his leg, took the title. So he was aware. He knew about Muay Thai. He actually sparred John a couple times, and you know, I was looking. I'm like, oh, so when Johnny was nowhere, I started training with Chicken, and Chicken is actually the one who turned me pro. We fought in Mexico, and that was my first pro fight, 17. You know?
So he was your trainer.
Yeah. I still did, you know, Kenpo with Todd and all that. And then when I was training for fights, I would train with Chicken.
Okay, you were 12 when you went into the dojo first. How long was it until you found out about Muay Thai?
When I was 14.
Okay, a couple of years into that. How far did you get? You said in your American Kenpo by then?
Black belt.
Oh, that's quick, man. A couple of years.
No. I didn't turn black belt until I had my black belt test.
I remember that.
Yeah, that was when I turned black belt. It took me so long to get it because I was always competing, so I didn't have time to do all the, you know.
Yeah, you didn't finalize everything, but you got up to that point.
Yeah.
Okay.
I should have been black belt at least at the rate I was going. I probably would have been black belt at 17. You know, but I was brown belt for. I got like 16 was brown belt, and then I was just like brown belt forever. I mean, but you know, it's like, you know, belts to me is.
It raises confidence for the children.
Yeah.
It gives you, you know, it's an organized system. I think there's something to it, you know, part of the discipline and the organization of it. But who was it? Bruce Lee said something about the only thing good about belts is they hold your pants up. So you talked about boxing in there. Are you Golden Glove certified?
Back then I was. When I was competing, yes, I was. Now, I mean, I'm not even in the system no more because they only save your records for so long. But yeah, I was boxing amateur and got into Golden Gloves. And then when I was 18, I got invited to compete, or not compete, but to try out for the Olympic trials in 93. And I said, nah. Said nope. And you know, so I got a lot of flack from that from my boxing coaches, because you know they wanted me to compete, you know, but I was like, nah, I want to kick. I only box just to get my hands good for when I did Muay Thai. That was all I did, but I was doing well in boxing, you know. So, but you know, who knows? I mean, who knows what would have happened if I would have went? But you know, I was so set on just doing kickboxing and Muay Thai. I didn't want nothing to do with competing in boxing, really. Not at that level, you know.
It wasn't a time. Okay. Now you talked about Chicken being the guy that was there to help instruct you into your first pro fight. Was he the only coach that you had to get to that?
Yes. As far as like, yeah, my first pro fight, I was boxing, so I had my boxing coaches who was training me boxing, but you know, so my regiment for when I was in high school, I would wrestle, then I'd go box, and then I would come to the studio and train. So I was doing that like 6 days a week, 5 days a week, you know. So I would go box, and then I would go do Muay Thai. And I would always try out my boxing when I was at the studio, and at kicks in, and just to see how I would do, and I would just start smashing on everybody. So, but yeah, Chicken was the one who really got me to that level of competing on a big stage. Yeah.
Did anybody into the picture after that?
After that, yes. So there was a guy by the name of Chris Getz who owned a Black Tiger Muay Thai in Miramar, off of Miramar Road. And he was actually at my fight, right? So the only thing back then was when I was training with Chicken, sometimes, it was just inconsistent as far as like the training. Like I wouldn't see him for a while, and then I would see him, then I wouldn't see him, and I was just like, I want something all the time, So I sought out Chris, and actually what happened was, no, let me back up. A guy by the name of Doug Dickey and Vince Sabarino, they did Muay Thai, and they stumbled upon our gym as well. And I asked where they trained, and they said they trained at Black Tiger. So that's how I found out about Chris. So Vince owned the gym first. And I started training under him. And then he ended up leaving, going back to the Philippines, and Chris took over, and I stayed. And I ended up training with Chris. And I fought for him for a long time.
Okay. Yeah. I know you have a lot more that follows that, but we won't get into that just yet. What was or is your greatest challenge that you had in the art of eight?
Really the biggest challenge is, and you can contest to this, is training camp. It's you know what I mean? Like it's gonna make you or break you. It's gonna make you either not want to do it because how hard the training is, even though you're only fighting for an X amount of minutes, or you're going to thrive in it, and we trained our ass off, especially when I was getting ready for K1. I mean, if I was in camp, you was in camp, even though you're not fighting, because you want to be on the same level, at least physicality wise. It may not be skill wise, but what it takes to, to get at that pro level, because you've done it with me.
Right. It was a lot of hard work, and I feel that there's a line that you cross as a pro fighter, and that's it. The training, the dedication to the training, huh?
Yeah. A lot of people won't put the work in, but they want to fight, and then you might have better skill set, but if you start to gas and the other guy's still coming at you, your skills are not gonna matter at that point.
Right. It's a whole different thing when you get in and you actually fight in the ring as opposed to all the training. I can vouch for that 100%, 1,000,000%. Your energy is different. Your lungs is different. Everything changes. You can be tip top shape, and you get in, the bell rings, everything goes out the window.
Yeah.
So you have to kind of get through all of that in order for you to really, unless you're just one of those people that got the natural skills,
Yeah.
You got in, what year roughly was that when you did your first pro fight?
I would say, let me see, I was 91, 92. 91, 92.
Okay.
I graduated in 93, I was 18, so I would be 90, probably 92.
From the time that you started pro, how many years do you think you went, excluding your breaks?
I think right before I had met you, I had kind of I just stopped. I didn't stop training, but I stopped because me and my trainer Chris, we had a falling out. Right, I was getting ready for a world title actually, and he had actually had set time for me to be there and had a trainer to train me because he had clients. He said, be here at this time, but I'm like, all right, cool. But some came up with rent, and I had to go to the bank, and I had to do this and that, and I was on my way driving there, and then I get a call saying, hey, Chris pulled you from the fight. And I'm like, what? Like, yeah, he pulled you from the fight. You're not here on time. So he's like, he thinks you're not taking it serious. He's talking this and that, saying I'm gonna get killed, and I'm not dedicated. And I'm like, I'm a few minutes late. So at that point, I just turned my car around and drove back home. But then that same night, I get a call, and it was another friend of mine, who was a really good fighter and a good trainer, and he trained at Top Studio, but he lived up in LA. And he called me and said, "Hey, we're putting a team together. Do you want to fight in China for the US?" I'm like, "Absolutely." So one door closed, but another open. So.
And you won that belt.
No, I actually lost split decision. They wanted us to throw the fight. They wanted all the Americans to throw the fight. They would pay us extra money. And all of us said no, but one person. He's all, "I'll take the money." Right? So it was pretty funny. They did this little like exhibition, and the Chinese dude ended up losing the fight anyway because he went to kick one of our guys, and our guys just checked just off instinct, and he hit his shin the wrong way and was down, and was like, "Oh shit!" But he still got the extra money. You know, it's like it didn't go down the way that they practiced it. So
it's crazy. A lot of scenes of that kind of thing.
Yeah, it was like, "Yeah, you'll win some rounds, he'll win some rounds." And you're kind of like, I'm like, "Nah, man, I'm winning all the rounds."
Yeah.
I'm like, I'm coming to fight. You know.
Was there a time or more where you were discouraged about the politics? You know, with all of that.
Yeah, it's always politics in that. I've been in the dressing room about, all wrapped up, gloved up, walking out to the ring, and I have people saying it's a no-go, cut. And, the guy pulled out or something happened to where I'm not even fighting. Yeah. So it's like, you get that a lot. And that was another one of the reasons why I had stopped, because I got tired of people either ducking or something happening, or somebody was just not professional. And it was just hard getting me fights back then. So that's kind of why when I hooked up with Mike, and he's like, "Hey, if you want to fight, well, I'll get you some fights." And then he was even looking for fights for me, and he was having problems. And that's kind of why we came up with the motto, "F you looking for fights," because he was constantly looking. And he was like, "Yeah, I got this kid. He fights at like 125, 130. He's like, "Oh yeah, we got somebody." And they'll throw my name out and be like, "Oh yeah, no." So I was like, it was kind of frustrating. And then we got the call from K1, and then that's K1 fights everybody. So, and I was like, K1 at the time was like the upper echelon of combat sports as far as Muay Thai and kickboxing.
So are you officially retired?
As of right now, yes, I'm officially retired. My last fight was 2 years ago. And, people are still trying to get me to come out of retirement for one more. But I suffered my lung collapse in that fight in the second round. And it was weird because I was winning the fight, right? It wasn't, a kid really didn't have anything for me. He was just super aggressive and wild. And I already planned for that. I was just biding my time, because as the fight went on, he was starting to dwindle and he didn't like getting hit, So it was weird because I had him in the clinch, and I shifted him one way and I shifted him another way to get him off balance so I can knee. So when I cocked back the knee, his knee came up, but he was only putting his knee up to try to stop himself from falling, and it just kind of caught me in a crazy place right below my armpit on my left side, and I went down. I'm like, and I was looking at the ref, and I was waiting to count, and I'm like, I'll get up on the 6 count. And then I got up, and I felt something didn't feel right, and he waved it off, which in retrospect was good, because I wasn't in no shape to fight after that, so.
Have you cornered for pro or amateur fights?
Man, I cornered for tons of amateur fights. I actually cornered for 1 year fights, a couple year fights. Cornered for Tiffany Van Soos when she fought in New York at Madison Square Garden. That was like 3 years ago. Cornered for a couple other pros, or helped corner. But yeah, tons of amateur fights that I've cornered. I just cornered like last weekend for one of my guys, one of my kids. So yeah, sure.
Oh, for people that are not familiar with the word, the term cornered, what does that mean?
Cornering is when you are basically giving instructions in between rounds to the fighter that you've been training in training camp for X amount of months. So the bell rings, he goes out, you watch him fight, you kind of see what other tendencies other guys throwing, see what's working for your fighter. And when he comes back to the corner, you give him instructions and give him feedback on what you see and what he should be doing in the next round.
Have you trained students in technique, based on your experience in fighting?
Yeah, basically, normally what I do when I get with somebody for the first time is I assess them on their physicality, as far as like I run them through like a little workout and see how they fare, and then I go from there. But as far as technique wise, I always show them the basics: stance, how to throw a proper jab, how to throw a right hand, left hook, how you should contribute your weight should be 50-50. You don't want to lean too much to the front or too much to the back unless you're throwing. Right? If I'm throwing my left hook on my way to my back foot, if I'm throwing my right hand, my weight to my front foot. That way it allows your other leg to pivot when you're throwing punches.
What age group do you offer these techniques to?
The youngest I would train is 5.
Hmm.
5 years old, that's the youngest I'll go. Anything below that, your attention span is just kind of crazy. I mean, I've trained 4-year-olds before, and they're still kind of, you gotta be like, hey, come on, look at me, let's go. You gotta be on them like constantly. But that 1 year span, it means a lot. You may think it doesn't, but it does. Yeah.
How many 5-year-olds have you had?
I've had actually about three 5-year-olds. Actually, I have one. He just turned 6, so he's not 5 no more.
Yeah.
But he was one of the exceptions. Like he just like listens and just
right.
About it. Yeah.
How did they do?
They all did good. They all freaking took trophies home. So.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
Have you trained clients for weight loss or toning or fitness or strength and conditioning? Have you done any of that with clients?
Yes. So I was with this gym called Brainstorm Fitness, and their gym is a little different because they do things a little different, but they do specialize in weight loss, mobility, strength and conditioning, as well as just being able to move, right? Because at the end of the day, you want to be able to play with your kids or just function as a human being. Mm-hmm. So yeah, I've done a lot of strength and conditioning. I've done a lot of weight loss. I've done like challenges, like they want to lose this amount of weight in this amount of time, and yeah, it's fared very, very well for me. It's all about your mindset, though. You have to want it. You can't like train and then go eat a carne asada burrito and think, oh, but I trained. Like, no, it doesn't work that way. You know what I mean? So you got to be pretty like disciplined.
Out of 10 people, how many would do something like that?
I would say maybe 2 out of 10. Maybe.
Yeah. Wow, I would think it would be higher. So yeah. I know it's difficult, but it's important, huh?
Yeah, it's important for sure. You have to want it. You have to like really be like, I want to change my life. And I mean, and you have to like, everything comes along with it. Your diet, your sleeping patterns. I mean, everything. It all has to like flow together.
Exactly. So, how long have you offered these sessions to the community? How long has that been going on for now?
Man, it's been going on for a minute, man. Like since I stopped fighting back then, and then before I started fighting again. I was doing it, man, back in since 2001.
Wow.
After I got back from China, I just started. I mean, I was always training people, but I didn't make it like this is what I'm gonna do. So yeah, I made it a point since then. And you know, we've had our like moments where we've had like big groups of people. And it kind of dwindles down because, you know, certain people can't hang with it, or they just don't want to do it no more, you know. So, but it's always offered, you know.
As a coach or training, you know, in fitness techniques, anything like that, especially in the fitness area, you know, losing weight, toning up, strength and conditioning, how many clients, how many students, how many people do you feel have come in over those years in the San Diego community?
Man, I'll say over hundreds stumbled upon Todd's gym at one point. I mean, it's the longest going gym dojo in all of California.
Right.
Yeah.
Is there a lot of what you would call like a revolving door? A lot of people coming in and going out pretty quick, or?
Yeah, you get a lot of that, but then you get a lot of reoccurring people who came in, left, and come back.
Right. I like that. That's fair, huh?
Yeah.
Okay. What's the greatest experience of client success that you can share with us?
So I was training this kid. I've been training him for like over 10 years now. He's come and gone. He's fought with me over the years, and just seeing his progress is really, really cool, because at one point I thought, I don't even know how to teach this kid. You know what I mean? And now he's fought for me. He's fought with me. And he's going to fight again in the next competition. And just to see his growth as from where he started to now is like night and day.
Right. You probably don't even think about how the future of these younger kids, they might go pro one day and you were at the beginning of it, you know?
Yeah. Yeah.
Probably not really focusing on that part of it, but
yeah,
that's interesting, you know, as a teacher, how that actually unravels in the future, and what you've meant as an elder of the community, somebody in their life that provides discipline and direction. We talked about that for you when you went in. We talked about that with Todd and why he went in. And you know, most people out there get into the martial arts for the discipline, to get out of trouble. And Poise brought a really good point on the first part as well with Todd on you know, a lot of times when you gain experience in martial arts or fighting in general, it calms you down. You're not as violent as you used to be. You know.
Yeah, you know how to handle yourself in certain situations. You're not as eager to you know what I mean? So it's just like, because you know what you're capable of. I mean, I'm not saying I'm like the baddest dude or whatever, but I don't put myself in situations that are gonna go bad for me. You know what I mean? I'm not a knucklehead, so I'm not gonna put myself in a situation that might cause me harm or cause some type of drama where I'm gonna be in a bad place. You know, so it's like, you know, you just don't put yourself in those situations. So it's like, and that's part of being disciplined. You know what I mean? Like, you don't need to do that. You know, you're a better person than that. So.
Yeah. So, Mantis, I have a question. If you're willing to discuss, do you have any children? If so, how many, and how many are in the martial arts? And if some of them are into martial arts, what was it like raising them in that culture, and by you being, you know, a professional fighter?
It's a good question. I have one kid. He's a boy. He's 3 years old, so he is not training because he's too young.
Baby.
Yeah.
Nice.
So.
Congratulations.
Yeah, thank you. So I mean, of course, when he does get of age, I'm definitely gonna train him. But I do have experience in training other people's kids, and I see the joy that they have and the look on their face when they train. Especially this last Saturday when my 7-year-old competed, his face lit up after he got his trophy, and
nice.
You know, he won. So it's like, you know, they appreciate. It's funny because a lot of other kids, like the the kid who just fought, his uncle says, yeah, he doesn't listen to his parents, but he listens to you. You know what I mean? So it's like, he's like, that says something. I'm like, yeah, well, you know.
For real.
Yeah.
That means that you are respected as a teacher, elder, man. So props to you for that. And I was going to add on to what Poise asked, because, you know, I know you for a little while, and I could say to the audience that you have been teaching, and you are, in a way, you're not kids' fathers, but what you are is a good role model, because you care about the kids, you give them your time, you're patient with them, and you do all of the things that I feel should be done with the youth when you're teaching them and giving them opportunities to grow and develop. And so I really appreciate that about you, Charles.
Yeah, thank you.
Or Mantis. Tell us about Mantis Mitts.
Yeah, so Mantis Mitts is basically a curriculum I came up with. With it a long time ago, but I never like implemented it. I was just something that I always had in the back of my head. So then, you know, I started like just writing down different techniques and different things that I wanted, you know, people to learn. But the whole thing behind it is it's a 1 through 10 process. The numbers are, every number is a certain technique, right? So in order to go on to the next number, you have to like master that to where you can just, you know, it off the top, you know. But then with that number, I call them fillers, right? So there's extra stuff that come with the numbers, right? So fillers is something that I'll either like say or I'll do that you have to react to. You know, once you got those down to the way, you know, I like it, then we'll move on to the next. It's almost like a belt ranking system, right? But I don't give them like a belt, you know what I mean? I just like let them go on to the next number. So, but basically what it is just to work on your twitch muscles, your reaction time, your reflexes, and just being able to listen. Because at the end of the day, when you're in there, my voice is the only voice that matters. You know, I can't fight for you, but I can give you instructions. So you have to learn how to listen and have an ear for my voice. You know, so we come up with little like, you know, names, you know, when they're fighting. You know, I would be like, you know, Dutch kick, you don't know what that means, you know? So it's just it's a process, you know, you kind of build up on it. So.
Right. Yeah, that's something that I learned the hard way. It's not the hard way, but I learned in my experience, when you get in the ring, I don't hear nothing.
Yeah.
I don't hear any. You guys are screaming in the corner. You could say whatever you want. I couldn't hear nothing, man, unless I like took a pause for the cause and like I actually removed myself from the actual fight and paid attention to you. So that's definitely a great part of the learning experience of being a fighter. As we mentioned earlier, when you get in the ring, it's a whole different experience. I don't care what anybody says. What do you offer for people that need to recover their mobility health?
Yeah, so I actually used to work with this. He's actually a trainer himself. He trains pro baseball players, right? But he had lower back problems, and I used to work with him with his mobility because he would show how to pitch, and so he would come in, his shoulders be messed up, his lower back be messed up, you know. So I would get him on, so we call it a power plate. And a power plate is basically it vibrates this way and this way simultaneously. So whenever your body is on an unstable ground, your body will naturally stabilize itself. So that's what that power plate does. It makes you stabilize yourself in an uncomfortable situation, you know. But you can also use that as a recovery tool. So I would do a lot of range of motion exercises with him, you know. I mean, like to make him be able to raise his hand above his head. Before it was down here, now he can raise it up here, you know. And it's the same with his posture, the same with his, you know, he can't touch his toes. At the end of the session, he can touch his toes. So that's always progression. But mobility is really important because, like I said before, at the end of the day, you just want to be able to move and just function as a normal human being, you know what I mean? So.
What is a common excuse to not join your sessions? We talked about that earlier.
Oh man, this is one I get all the time. Right? I would say, hey, you should come train, you know, it'd be good for you. Da, da, da. He's like, no, I need to get in shape first. And I'm like, no, that's how you get in shape, is by training. You're not going to get in shape first. You're not going to be able to get in shape and then already be good, you know? So it's like, just come in, you know? So the first step that I tell everybody, just do it. Just do it. You know, don't make excuses, because everybody has an excuse. So it's, you know, you just need to just go in and try it. And I guarantee you'll like it, because people have a misconception of what Muay Thai or just kickboxing and training is. They think, I don't want to get hit. I'm like, you're not going to be getting hit. You're going to be one doing the hitting, you know? So they have like a false perception of what the training is until they actually come in and do it. And then they're like, oh, and I'm like, yeah, see, it's not what you thought it was. I'm not going to come in like, all right, fight. You know what I mean? It doesn't work like that. So,
right. No, it's not always people going in to train to fight. They're going in for different reasons, and you actually accommodate them for their particular reason they're coming in. Yeah,
I ask them what their goals are, what they want to do, and we go from there. And then I work on their goals, and we set little goals so they can achieve them. I'm not going to have you do something that I don't think you can do, because it's just going to discourage you. You know what I mean? So even when I train, I tell them, like, I'm not going to have you do something that I don't think you can do, because that defeats the purpose of you training, you know? So I want you to get better. Now, there's things that you couldn't do when you first started that you can do now, and that shows progress. It's the same with you know? So it's just like, you know, these guys are putting in the work because they want to better themselves, and that's what I'm here for, you know. And I don't charge them, because they're friends of mine, they're good friends of mine. And you know, RIP, I offer that to him many times over the years, and it's just like, you know, just didn't do it, you know. So who knows? But that's a whole different topic. But
yeah. And I know that you personally have tried to get people to come in order to break a cycle that they might have, bad habits, because you care. And that's going back to what I was saying earlier. You know, you actually care about people, and you treat them as an individual for their particular purpose and what they need. So you mentioned a couple of things, but what can be said to change their perspective on that, other than what you just talked about? Did you ever have any heart-to-heart or deeper conversations with anybody?
Ooh, yeah. One of the ones I got to bring it up again was Sketch. Like we sat him down a few times, and we told him, like, yo, man, you really need to, like, change your habits and what you're doing, and you really need to you know, start getting out there. Even if you just walk around the block, just take a walk. You need, you know, circulation in your legs. You need to, like, you know, because he was saying he's in pain all the time, or he can't do this. You know, we've had this talk like months and months and months, you know, before everything. And he was like, yeah, but no action, you know. And I was like, I'll help you, man. I'll help you. Just come to the gym. Just come down, or I'll come to you. Whatever we need to do, let's just do it. Let's get started at least, so you can, like, see, like, hey, this is actually working for me, you know. But I think he was just in so much pain all the time. Maybe he was discouraged on just that alone, you know. So, but, you know, what I tell people is just get in there and try it. At least you could say you tried it. If it's not for you, it's not for you. If it's something you don't want to do, then at least you tried it, and be like, it's not for me, but at least you tried, you know. But my goal is, if you try it, is to get you to love it and want to come back, you know. So it's like, I mean, at one time we had all MCs training,
right?
You know, and I wasn't charging them. I just wanted to come in and get it done, you know. I mean, Sarcastic now, he still trains on his own. Jeff, he still trains on his own. and he's in incredible shape. I mean, his skills it's gotten a little better, but you know, he loves it, and he's
Right.
constantly training, you know, so.
That's the most important part that we're trying to convey in this part of the interview is being community based the way that you are, as long as that dojo on 3030 El Cajon Boulevard, American Kenpo Karate, has been open, and how long you've been in there, you and Todd, just you guys, not to mention Chicken and so many other instructors and elders of their community. You guys have offered support in so many different ways, and you continue to do so. And I feel we talked about the energy that comes from that dojo, and the purpose and the means of everybody that supports it and is behind it. So
yeah,
definitely strongly encourage all of our brothers out there who have any health issues to go attach yourself to an elder of the community, a brother of the community, someone such as Charles and Todd, that are there for you, and to learn a discipline, to benefit from the health that comes from it, to talk to somebody, to ask questions. This is really a big part of what Elders of the Block is about, and why we had Todd and Mantis come on to the show today. How can people in the area, such as San Diego County, learn more about your classes, you personally?
I actually have a website. It's mantismits.com. You can always check that out. I have content on there. I have my contact information on there as well. Of course, as the address to the dojo. And, you know, like, I'm always talking to people, passing out business cards and all that. But yeah, that's the best way to get a hold of me, is through my website and through like my Instagram or Facebook. You can always go and check that. Drop me a DM, because since I've been training Suge and everybody, I've been getting a lot of people hitting me up like, hey, you know, I know you don't know me, but I know you train Suge, and I've been seeing your content, and I'm interested. So
how can people reach you or join an upcoming class?
Just by hitting me up, man. Just hit me up on Instagram or Facebook, and we go from there.
Okay.
Or hit me up on the website. When I first got started, I did the week, the $25 for a week. And then after that, I stopped coming because I didn't have money, you know. So then I kind of went into the dojo again, and Todd's like, hey, where you been? I missed you. You haven't been over. And I'm like, oh, I don't have any money, you know. And he's like, oh, okay, well, you know, how about this? You know, take the trash out, vacuum, you know, wipe the windows down, keep the place looking nice and neat, and I'll train you for free. So then I was excited. I went back to my mom, and he's like, ask your mom if it's okay. And I asked her, she's like, yeah, it's okay. And then it just snowballed from there. Now, fast forward in high school, and then, you know, some things happened in my life where I began to have a place to stay. Todd allowed me to live at his dojo for like a year until I was able to get back on my feet. So Todd has really been an important part of my life as far as like where I'm at right now. He was like my second father, the one I never had, you know? So it's like, he's always watched out for me and always like took care of me. Whether it was like I needed a couple bucks, I needed food, roof over my head, he was always there for me. So I can never take that away, you know? I would always stay for me forever. So.
How old were you when you couldn't pay and he trained you for free to clean the dojo?
I was 12.
That is crazy, because the question, I mean, the story that I wanted to tell you, I was either somewhere between 8 and 11, and I went to this dojo in Los Angeles one time. I don't know if it was a dojo or a karate studio. I don't know if they're the same, but I went in there and I actually got to do some training for one day. And the guy, he asked me to come back the next day, and he said something. I impressed him with something. I don't know what it was. It was a kick or something, and I impressed him. And he at the end of that day, he gave us a paper and he told us, you know, take it home and see if you can get your parents to sign if you guys would like to come and train. And it was something real cheap, bro. It was like, it was probably $25 or $35 a month or something like that. And I knew instantly that my mother didn't have the money. And like all my hopes just went like whoosh, you know. And the ironic part, I ended up getting, I was, abused a lot as a youth. I was young and always stayed in the roughest neighborhoods in Los Angeles, you know, got my ass whooped, jumped, stabbed, all type of stuff. And I found out, like when I became a teenager, that my pops was actually a boxer and my uncles all knew martial arts and nobody ever taught me to fight. So I would just, you actually brung that story, when I was thinking about that, it brung that flashback up, and I hadn't thought about that in about 10 years. Every once in a while I think about it, you know, every 7 years it'll come up. And I was like, what would my life had been had I, you know, gotten that training and gotten to that life? Because unfortunately, when I became a teen, after the last time I was robbed, I decided to fight back, and that didn't end, you know, good. And I ended up doing a bunch of time in prison. So it's commendable for anyone to train someone or to let someone take advantage of a skill or art or whatever it is, you know, for free. That could literally change someone's life, you know. And that's like almost like a storybook, you know. You see that in movies all your life growing up, you know. People they'll go like in the old school karate movies, you know. And someone will train them and that's crazy, that parallel. And then when you said 12 years old, that kind of like messed me up. I'm like, wow, that's deep.
It's crazy because I told my mom and my aunt a long time ago when I was young, and I told them, I'm like, I want to be in a magazine, I want to get a black belt, I want to win a title, and I want to fight somewhere, you know, over the world. And I accomplished everything I said I wanted to do.
That's dope.
So it's crazy that, I mean, I wouldn't have done that if it wasn't for Todd, who looked out for me. And the twist on what you said, like I don't know where I would be if I didn't have martial arts, or if I didn't have any type of training. I don't know what life I would have. I don't know what road I would have went down in.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's crazy because, you know, I grew up in a rough neighborhood, and, you know, a lot of gangs, and it was just like, that's just the way it was in the 90s. You know how the 90s were, you know. So who knows, you know? But
yeah, that's definite. That's what we're trying to encourage. You know, with Elders of the Block, we want to encourage our brothers out there, whether they're younger or not. You're still an elder to someone. An elder has nothing to do with your age. It has to do with your wisdom, your experience. You know, the elder is the one that you go to in your community when you have a question, when you need to learn because you don't have a father, because your father doesn't know, your father's not around. Many different reasons, you know, how we all have someone that we look up to. The kids in your class at a young age, they look up to you. They respect you in that form of discipline during your time, you know, and when they're with their parents, they're maybe a little bit more rowdy and don't listen as much, you know. I've had the same thing happen with me and school teachers with math or language arts. The parents always said the same thing to me. They won't listen to me. I don't know how you do it. I'm like, well, there's a different approach. You know?
Exactly.
There's a different type of approach than what parents typically do. And it might have something to do with us not being with the child every day, all day, you know? That could be part of it. It could just be the nature of who we are, you know, like real teachers. You know what I'm saying?
It's crazy because like the kid Benji who just fought, and he said like after a training session or something, especially after the fight, he's like, he comes home and he's just chill. He's not running around being all rambunctious, and, you know, he was just chill. He was just like content. It's like, you know, so I guess that says a lot for what, you know, we do as teachers and instructors. It does change, people's lives, especially the little ones, you know what I mean? So they're not in that, you know, mind frame of, you know, all the time, you know? So I think that's pretty cool.
Yeah.
Right.
That we have that impact on the youth, you know? So.
Yeah, because it's what we needed when we were that age. For example, what you went through, what Poise went through, we all needed that. I had a little bit of help here and there outside of my immediate family. And if it wasn't for that, there's so many different ways that I could have developed, you know, or having a lack of development.
Yeah,
so it's important. People don't think about it that way, but it's important. It's I am my brother's keeper. It takes a village to raise a child. These things will always keep showing back up, and for us to say that way, it really holds a lot of weight. Right on, my dude. Thank you so much for coming through, man. Go get something to eat, fuel up, enjoy the rest of your evening, and I'll be in touch. We'll schedule something when we get down there with you.
Yeah, no doubt.
See you soon, brother.
All right, man.
Yeah. All right, peace, bro.
All right.
See you, boys.
Peace.